Hey everyone, welcome back. It is time for episode 3 of our Mount Rushmore series. Thanks again for joining us. With me once again is Campo.Reviews, the man who reviews movies, TV shows, wrestling, a whole bunch of other stuff. Make sure you go check his stuff out. And below him and below me, we also have the Putty Man. He does stuff too, so go check that out once in a while.
Once
Below.
in a while, yeah.
Once in a while. And
Once in a
apparently he
while.
likes Deadpool, if you guys hadn't figured that out already.
You wouldn't be able to tell, or Goldberg.
No.
No.
I
And
mean,
I,
Well, let's
yeah.
just say Goldberg has nothing to do with this list.
And yeah, exactly.
So
does he?
technically, he was never Attitude Era.
I mean, no, he
Yeah, but it
wasn't.
was
So
never, it was,
in case you haven't guessed, we are doing another Mount Rushmore today, and we are doing the tag teams of the Attitude Era. So the rules for this are solely Attitude Era, which was 95 to let's say 2000.
I'll say late 96
Okay.
to two till slightly later than two. No, like 2001.
Okay, we'll say that. That's a good 5 year gap.
The teams that
mm,
we're gonna pick, I promise you, we're gonna fall in that gap
Yeah,
anyways, so it
anyway.
doesn't matter.
Another one is because it's Attitude Era, we're talking WWE only.
hmm
Mhm.
And we also, another rule I'm throwing in there right now, it has to be a legitimate tag team and not a faction.
Okay, that's fair.
Okay.
Okay, then that might, I don't know if this is considered a faction. Oh, I know. No, I think it's okay. I think we're cool. I think we're cool.
Okay.
I think you're cool.
Well, I mean,
Yep.
I do have a tag team, but we'll talk about that when we get to it. So, Kempo, why don't you start with your Mount
What
Rush?
the
Yeah,
f
exactly. It's my
okay.
show.
My honorable mention. I'm gonna give you my honorable mention. This is really hard. Okay,
Yeah, I
so
had
I
a hard time with the
I
honorable
want to
mentions
put
too.
these guys on the list, but I just think in terms of like what they did as a tag team, they're a really strong tag team, but they didn't really win a lot, and that's APA. So I'm gonna keep them as my honorable mention. Unfortunate. Then jumping into my four Mount Rushmores, I'm gonna say just because they won so much and the characters were fun, not necessarily because they were a great tag team. It's the New Age Outlaws.
Okay.
I think it's undeniable that the amount that they won
Yeah.
in that time period, and then
And that
obviously,
counts because you're saying the New Age Outlaws and not DX.
yeah, that counts. I mean,
Mm.
I really looked into that, to be honest, and we'll get into that after, but
Yeah.
it's the top three is obvious, and I'll rank them in order: Edge and
Yeah.
Christian, the Hardy Boys, and then number one is the Dudley Boys, easily, not even close for me. I think what the Hardys were capable of was very different than the kind of wrestling that we got in that era,
Hmm.
which is why I would put them ahead of Edge and Christian, who I think were maybe better characters and better look for
Yeah.
wrestling of that era. But I just feel like the peak Edge and Christian, it comes after the tag team.
Yes. I agree. Um,
hmm
and before we get into Putty, then I'll do mine because Campo, mine is exactly the same as
No
yours.
way.
Exactly the same as yours. The only thing I had a hard time was the honorable mention was to try to find which one I wanted it as an honorable mention because I wanted
Yeah.
to mention Rock and Sock and I wanted to mention Brothers of Destruction,
Do you
but they
know on
just
my original list when we first did this a long time ago, they were both on my list, and you and Nick gave me so much baloney about it. But I thought about it too. I thought about DX. I thought about a few things as an honorable mention, but I realized like none of those were tag teams for long periods.
no, they weren't.
You're right.
And one name you'll also see on a lot of lists too that weren't even though they've won the tag belts was the two-man power trip.
Yeah, that's a good one too. I mean,
But they were only around for a couple months, so
you could argue like Legion of Doom was there for a bit.
yeah,
Um,
LOD 2000 when Sonny was with them.
yeah. Maybe the actually no, that would have been New Era, I think. Anyways, Putty, give us your
Yeah,
list.
Okay, cool. My honorable mention is Brothers Destruction.
That's fair,
Only,
yeah.
one-
yeah,
only switch is because I enjoyed the chemistry between the two. So just take Age Outlaws out, put in Rock and Sock Connection, and I'm exactly like your all's list.
Yeah,
as in
I think it
aka Hardy
Yeah.
Boys, Edge and Christian, and the Dudley Boys. Now, my order is I actually put Dudley Boys. Now, don't know, I love Dudley Boys. I always compared them and Edge and Christian. Like I like them fairly. I was more Hardy Boys. I really love the Hardy Boys. I was a big fan. But I mean, all three of those. I mean, come on, they all three of these teams made tables, ladders, and chairs together. Like
Yeah.
they were the pinnacle of that. Putting honestly, I'll be honest with you. If we were just to make this a broad list and say all tag teams all time, these three would still be on my Mount Rushmore.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be very honest with you. That's literally no,
Not of
I
all time, but
close
I
to
mean,
it. I mean, close to. I
if
mean,
you made me
they'd
make
be
a
in the top
list,
10 for
if
sure.
you made me make a list of greatest all-time tag teams, they would be on the list. The Dudley Boys for sure for me
Yeah.
would be somewhere near the top.
well, no, I'm referring just WWE. If we just do WWE
That's
and we just say
fair.
all
But
time,
Yeah.
I
that
still
would be
think
three.
there's a few real good ones you could argue points for, which we'll get to because we're gonna have to do ruthless aggression. We're
Yeah.
gonna have to do the PG era. We're gonna have to do the modern era. We're gonna have to do the new what was it called? The new generation
The
at
new
some
gen.
point.
Yeah.
Um, so I mean, and that's gonna be a rough one because it's gonna be like the new smoking guns, the new what was it? Like all
Hey,
those
you
dumb
had
teams.
what's their names?
The Godwins.
The Godwins, yeah.
But anyways, yeah,
But that's where I would throw in LOD maybe. But
that's possible
that's
because
a
they were
list for
there for
another day.
that. But
Yeah.
they I think the three teams are like guaranteed,
Yeah.
right? It's
Well,
really
yeah,
after that how you want because the Brothers of Destruction were actually around for a decent amount of time.
Yeah.
So Rock and Sock was really quick, but it was very enjoyable. A lot
yeah.
of people when I looked at lists, I already knew what my list was, but I said I'm
Yeah.
just gonna
Mm-hmm.
look anyways. A lot of lists had Stone Cold and Triple H,
Hmm.
I saw
which
that too.
literally
A few of
lasted
the
for like
lists
two
also
weeks.
had Too Cool.
Yeah,
Too
Too
Cool is
Cool is in
another
there.
one that
Maya.
could have been there because they were one of the only tag teams for a long time. Remember how weak the tag division was?
Yeah.
But I mean, the whole dynamic was kind of like the fun thing with Rikishi and all that. Like that was the fun part about that. But that's the reason why Rock and Sock Connection got in there because, when it comes to solid wrestling teams, the three we already picked and we already talked about, that's
Yeah.
where New Age Outlaws I feel comes in. I feel like they're kind of like in that caliber. The reason I didn't put New Age Outlaws in there and I put in Rock and Sock Connection is because we're going technical on wrestling, but you know me, I also like the entertainment value as far as like outside of even the wrestling. And both The Rock and
They're
Mankind were so fun together.
they're
Like
a
it
way
was
better
just,
technical team if you're
Yeah.
talking about
yeah.
wrestling.
But that's my point though. They were just not even just that, just as far as characteristically, they were just so enjoyable to watch. Like I was so excited to see them compete each time, and I knew that but they weren't really being serious. So at least in my eyes, I didn't. It was
Well,
just fun.
it's
They
like
had that fun, reluctant tag team, like we don't want to be a tag team, but we're going to be a tag team type of thing. And
and then they
Exactly.
had that one of the best segments ever in
this
Raw
is your life.
history. This is your life, and it was
This is
so
your
good.
life. And when it came out with the teacher and everything, and she's like, "Yeah, do you remember when you took me in home ec?" She's like, the home ec teacher
And it
was the
went for
best.
2 episodes.
Yeah.
It was, but that's my point. That was the dynamic because when I was making this list, I was just like you guys. I had the Hardy Boys, I had the Dudley Boys, and Edge and Christian. They're just like they're cemented. And when you guys
Yeah.
said that, I was like, I knew that. I already knew that. So when I was going through the list, I was like, I even didn't even scroll down because I figured those have to be top three. When I found out later that actually some of these wrestlers and our three were actually in the top three of some of these lists, I'm like, what? Well, you're crazy. But when
The
I was going
Dudley
through
Boys on a lot of the lists weren't even top five.
I know.
Yeah.
I was like, are you serious? But that was the thing. Like even with DX, I was still
Public
counting
Enemy.
DX. Like you guys were saying DX didn't work, but then for me, I actually was gonna put DX in there only because if you count, let's put it this
DX
way.
was DX was
They
more
did win
ruthless
one
aggra
tag team
Yeah,
championship.
but
That was way later. That was
which
that
which I
But
would
see,
consider that ruthless aggression era.
it was
But
Pat. I think it was in the PG era when they won the tag team titles.
no, but
yeah,
I'm saying when DX formed, it was during like when it was just Trips and Shawn Michaels.
Yeah, when they made the first comeback.
Yeah.
But
but
then
see,
when
the,
they made the old man comeback is when I'm pretty sure they won the
They
tag
won the
but
titles.
belts, yeah.
but I'm gonna dispute. I'm gonna just argue this with the DX thing that it would not that it could apply as tag team for one reason. If you're looking at it as okay, it's a faction, well then we can actually look at the Dudley Boys that way too. I hate to put it that way. I'm not
No, but
saying
you
that,
But
can't because the Dudley Boys
Dudley
are a
Boys
tag team.
are a tag
no, they
team.
right.
Shawn
But you got to
and
remember,
Triple H, okay, I'll explain this because I've spent hours and hours and hours watching Reliving the War. They were never a tag team. They were a faction, a group together that grew. And the tag team in the group was the New Age Outlaws.
And to a certain
Sean,
extent, you also had the
So,
X Factor after
but
too.
then Sean got injured and was gone for 2 years. So the DX that we all remember doesn't even have Shawn Michaels in it. He's not
no,
even
true.
there. And
Well,
it blew my mind out.
Yeah.
He's like, this is a Mandela effect a lot of people have, is
Shawn
that they
Michaels
think,
left after WrestleMania 14
and
when he
he was
lost the
gone
belt
for
to
like a
Stone
year
Cold.
and a
Yeah.
half with his injury, and then he came back.
well, yeah, like I said, the reason I use the Dudley Boys is because like there's a long period of time where it was the Dudley Boys, both of the Dudley Boys, but then it was Spike Dudley too.
Well,
So
if you
like
go
that.
to ECW, there's like 20 members of the Dudley
Yeah.
family.
Well, no, I get it, but that's one point.
But
I'm
Spike
just looking at
Dudley
WWE.
rarely tagged with them. Spike was usually on his own.
Or managing them, kind of. He was like
Well,
their
yeah, I know,
lackey.
but no, but that's one
He was
point
there
now.
to go through a table.
But the thing is,
I
they always were a tag team, always. DX was a faction where sometimes they had to tag against other people.
Yeah.
I don't know. Whenever I think DX, I literally just think of Shawn Michaels and
Yes,
Triple H.
I'm
Like, I
not
get it.
disagreeing with that,
But
but they
that's
weren't a
Yeah,
tag team.
so
yeah.
the first iteration of DX was Shawn Michaels and the New Age Outlaws and Triple H, okay?
No, well, the
With
original one is China, Triple H, and Shawn
and
Michaels.
Shawn Michaels, yes. Then
Yeah.
they brought actually the original then is Rick Rude, Triple H, and Shawn.
Technically, yes. And then they brought Sean Waltman came back.
But that's
Well, see
after
that.
they brought Shawn Waltman back after Shawn Michaels left
Oh yeah, that's true.
because remember
See,
But
he
and
goes
that's what I'm
and that's
saying. And he was
yeah.
right. He's like, it's a Mandela effect a lot of people have. They think when they think of the peak of DX, people think Shawn Michaels was there and he was not there.
see that brings another connection I want to bring up since we're actually kind of in this subject. With the Dudley Boys, they brought in Spike Dudley. And then of course DX had all four of theirs. But like even the Hardy Boys, they had Lita there. You know what I mean? So like there's always like at least
But
a
they
third
never tagged
counterpart.
with Lita. Lita was
No,
their
no, no, no,
manager.
no, no. I'm
Yeah,
not
no,
trying to
I get
say.
what he's saying.
Yeah, but what I'm trying to say is, at no point did you ever see a third person enter between Edge and Christian. It was always just Edge and Christian. There was never ever like
Well,
somebody like
until
that
they
brought.
had
Un-
Lita.
no, there was originally it was the Brood with Gangrel.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. Okay, never
I
mind. You're
forgot
right.
about that
Yeah.
completely.
Yeah,
Good
it's
call.
you. Yeah.
But yeah, it's on top of that, I think the reasoning for me having New Age Outlaws on there, like I said, the characters were fun, and it's not so much that they were good at wrestling, it's they won so many times.
And they were always on TV.
Yeah,
Always.
so it's like an APA is a far better tag team, but the fact that they never really won, I
See,
can't have them on the list.
here's my problem. APA, the only time I enjoyed APA was the backstage segments, where it's like they knock on the door and everything, and they were like, they'd be
There's
doing the
nothing,
whole
there's the
table.
door, they can just walk around the door.
Yeah, yeah. Like I
But that
love.
was after. We're talking about peak APA when they were
Well,
part of the ministry.
I
Yeah,
know, but
but
see, I guess
APA was the later part of APA with the door is still Attitude Era.
Yeah.
The
yeah, and that's
Ruthless
What I
Aggression
would
version is
consider
when they had the bar
let's
fight.
redefine this then. Let's call them the acolytes, which what they were originally called.
Yeah,
yeah, that makes sense. Yeah,
And then they became Acolyte Protection Agency,
yeah,
right? But they were originally when they were a tag team, they were the acolytes,
yeah. When they had no shirts and they had
painting on their chest.
paintings on
so
their chest.
another one that didn't come up is the rock and roll connection. Like, I mean, it's not one of the best, but I was just
Who?
curious, like, what you. I mean, I'm not the rock and roll connection. I'm thinking another one. Oh my God, why did I put that on the list? I was thinking of rock and roll. What's it called? Rock
Express.
and yeah, thank you. That's what I was thinking, but that's not. I don't think that was.
No,
No, you're
No,
thinking
that
of
wasn't.
Shawn Michaels and
that's
Marty
the
Jannetty,
Rockers.
the
Is
Rockers.
that what I'm? That's what I'm thinking of. Yeah, yeah. Okay, but was
That's
that
another
was that?
list.
Okay, okay.
Okay, we did have Cactus Jack and Chainsaw Charlie.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was actually a pretty fun one for a bit. I mean, there's
Oh,
quite
there
a
was the
few.
Hollies, there was Right to Censor, there was Test and Albert with Trish
It,
Stratus.
there was the Radicals for a very
Yeah.
short period, but that's the thing, right? In
But the
that,
Radicals eventually became a faction.
yeah, they they WWE, a lot of these tag teams we're naming are guys that were tag teams for like 1 month and then broke up. That
Hmm.
was how they told storylines in WWE. There was only the like seven that we originally were talking about are the only ones that were tag
Hmm.
teams for the
Yeah.
entirety of like that run.
Which then let me ask you a question, because there's a lot of factions and all that stuff. If they win the tag team belts, do they consider themselves tag team at that point? If they're in a faction,
Well, who was in a faction that won tag teams that was in a tag team?
just recently, Damian Priest and
Well,
my
no, I
brain.
wouldn't consider them a tag team. They're a faction.
Right, but then but
They
they won
just
the
won that.
belts.
They just happened to win the tag team belts. They're not a tag
Okay.
team.
It's like,
Okay.
to make an example of that, it's like if you were looking at Bullet Club, like in the original Bullet Club, or not War Dogs, God, Guerrillas of Destiny,
Hmm.
that was like the tag team of the
They're a
group.
tag
Other
team.
people tagged together. It's like that's Shawn Michaels and Triple H. They tagged together, but they weren't a tag team
That
Yeah.
makes
per
sense.
se. To me,
Okay.
a tag team is a group of
Like
people
the
that have
Usos
that
or something
run
like that.
together for a while. Like FTR is a tag team.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Big Bill
Usos. Yeah.
and
Ricky Starks are now a tag. Like,
they're not like a real tag team though. If they stay together now, I'll buy it.
Which okay, then you're saying like for example, Usos would count, but then the Bloodline would be the faction.
yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Okay,
Well,
I got you.
that
Okay.
was a way better one than I said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Anyways, I think
yeah. I mean, that doesn't need any more explaining than that.
And I'm gonna say this, guys. If you're like, how good are these? Why are you guys propping this? Go look up which was it? Which pay-per-view was it that we had the original tables, ladders, and chairs match? Like there was one that had all of them in it, didn't it?
Was it
WrestleMania?
WrestleMania? Timmy,
WrestleMania
I wanna,
17?
Timmy,
yeah,
call
I think
Timmy,
Timmy
it's
up.
please tell
WrestleMania
us because
17.
I feel like if people are watching this video and they've never seen it, they need to go watch it because even nowadays that holds up today. That match
The
holds up
second one
so
is
well.
better, I think.
You think so? Well, either way, watch either one, but I feel like they need, if they're going to understand why we put these so high on the list and why the Mount Rushmore has those three on there, they can't experience it unless they see that original TLC or at least one of those major TLC matches in pay-per-view. Because like they were just they they did
SummerSlam.
SummerSlam. There
SummerSlam.
you go. That was like
SummerSlam
amazing.
2000.
All I'm saying is that was amazing, and
Oh, and then the
once
other
again,
one is on the one where The Rock fought. It's in Toronto, isn't it? The tables, ladders, and chairs too.
Hmm. Yeah. So originally, WrestleMania 2000 had the original ladder match. That's the one where Edge spears Hardy off the ladder.
hmm
Yeah.
yeah.
And then the original TLC match
Okay,
was
so there you go.
SummerSlam.
Yeah, yeah.
No, so when the SummerSlam though, didn't they have one point? Wasn't there one that had all three teams in there?
Yeah,
Wasn't that that was the
both of them
one?
did.
Yeah.
That was
Okay.
SummerSlam 2000 and WrestleMania 17, which is not the Toronto one. That was
No,
the,
no. So I was right. WrestleMania 17. Okay.
yeah, and that was the
But there you go.
TLC 2,
Either way, guys,
which
both of
was the
those
better one.
but either way, guys, watch. I would say watch both of those pay-per-views. Literally, just skip to those matches because they hold up to this day, both of them in my eyes. And I mean, it's whenever I look back at videos, like whenever I get recommended wrestling videos, that it's always I get a lot of the Attitude Era, and I think it's just because I loved it so much that I keep looking for it and everything. But it's just it was such a great time that I don't feel we're ever I in my eyes I don't feel we're ever gonna have that much greatness when it comes to wrestling anymore.
Well,
And I could
there's
be
this
wrong as
Edge special that's on the network that specifically just has all of Edge's
Hmm.
best matches, and like the first three are those matches.
good.
Yeah,
There you go.
there you go. See? So
Anyways,
with that out of the way, guys, let us know who your Attitude Era Rushmore is in the comments below. And with that, thanks again for joining us. And in the words of Kenny Omega, goodbye and good night.